Yesterday, Yoshi P sat down on Radio Mog Station and he outlined job changes for an in-between patch between 6.05 and 6.1. That's 6.08. We don't have a release date for this patch just yet, but there are some interesting things in here that I figured I'd make a video on. First off, what's guaranteed to be changing? Samurai, Black Mage, Monk, Dancer, and Paladin are all mentioned in name as getting buffs, and Reaper is mentioned as staying the same. So briefly just going over my opinions on the changes, I think that Samurai and Black Mage absolutely do need a buff. They are currently sitting middle of the pack, upper middle of the pack, and for greedy DPS, quote unquote, DPS classes that don't have party buffs, that don't have damage buffs, that don't have any sort of utility, doing damage is kind of the only thing that they're there for. And so if they're not doing the highest damage, then why not give them, more utility to play around with? So that's completely fine. Dancer's in a really, really bad spot right now. It's by far the lowest DPS. It desperately needs a little bit of love, especially with how good Bard is sitting right now. But I'll also take this moment to extend this to Machinist as well. Machinist is probably in the worst spot it's ever been DPS-wise, which boggles my brain because, as I said with Samurai and Black Mage, I think that the classes that don't bring anything to the party should be higher up. And yes, it has Tactician, but I think that middle of the pack to upper middle of the pack would be fair for Machinist, and I think it's ridiculously unfair to Machinist that a class like Bard can even be higher than them in the DPS charts. Paladin, I could make an entire video on why this whole Paladin DPS meme is a meme and not actually that indicative of Paladin being low damage. But I'll save that for another day, and I will just say that I do think Paladin should get a little bit of a DPS tweak to at least bring its maximum in line with Warrior's maximum, because Paladin and Warrior have always been the more survivable tanks, whereas Dark Knight and Gunbreaker have always been more of the DPS-focused tanks. Now that Paladin's not punished for being main tank anymore, though, it's certainly coming back into contention. If it just gets a bit more of a DPS boost, we might be seeing more Paladins in the meta. Now, finally, the final change that's in these confirmed notes is potency buffs to Monk, and that just kind of confuses me. Yoshi P says that it doesn't have enough firepower for how busy the job is. I would tend to disagree with that. I would say that historically speaking, they have never balanced jobs around how difficult the rotation is to pull off. They've usually gone by what they bring to the party, what utility they have, and it's just very odd to see this change when Monk is already the second highest DPS, and depending on the changes to Monk, we could see Monk just take over and be a monster S+ tier job for the remainder of Endwalker. Now, obviously, Monk is in the best place that it's been in since probably the Tornado Kick rotation in like late Stormblood. It's in a fantastic spot, so if you're a Monk main, you should be super happy about this. But I'm a little bit worried about the state of the game if Yoshi P is coming out and saying that Monk needs a buff when Monk does not need a buff. Speaking of things that do need to be changed, though, things that do need to be buffed, I still will die on the hill that Paladin's casting rotation needs to work off of skill speed and not spell speed. I think that Machinist needs a massive DPS buff. I think Living Dead needs to be changed. I think TBN needs to be changed. I think that the healer mana situation, specifically for White Mage and for, I guess just White Mage, just has to get a little bit of mana love. Maybe a little bit of a mana tweak across the board. I've actually been doing the Savage on healer, and I haven't seen anybody have mana problems. I haven't had mana problems, but it is what it is. I think that they should absolutely do that, though. I think Ninja still needs quality of life that it just didn't get in the last patch, and especially now that Samurai and Monk and Dragoon got buffed in this last patch, we could see a world where, because Trick Attack's not that good anymore, right? It's 15 seconds of a 5% buff. It's the same exact thing as Monk. It's crazy to me for them to even think that Ninja, one of the most complex and involved rotations in the game. Like, because again, if you look here, it says doesn't have enough firepower for how busy the job is. Doesn't that just scream Ninja to you? Ninja is one of the most complex rotations in the game, and it's going to be doing the lowest of all the melee DPS, and it doesn't even have Litany, right? Dragoon has better cooldowns than Ninja does, and so it just doesn't make sense to me that Monk is being touched here, and Ninja's just being left in the dust. So Ninja needs to be changed, Dancer needs to be changed, Machinist needs to be changed, Healer mana needs to be looked at. There's a lot of changes here. I hope that this is not the extent of them. Of course, once the patch notes are released in full, I will be making a video going over them. But for now, I gotta keep wiping to P3 in Rage. So I will catch you guys later. Have a good one.